Hello out there, this is Mark, and I made a video a little while ago regarding my program that I wrote that plays Strat-O-Matic baseball. And this is another video on the same topic. Since the last video, I've finished putting all the National League players in. So I had to add some fringe players because each team has 15 batters and 10 pitchers, and pretty much all the programs that I write. My hobby is to writing programs with my limited programming skills that actually play baseball sims. And I wrote one. A lot of my time is spent on Sports Illustrated because that's what I played when I was a kid. But this Strat-O-Matic, I also have that game. I have the 1986 version, so that's what I use for this program. And I would like to show you first I will show you kind of how it works. This is kind of a review. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but in my game, the one that Strat-O-Matic sells is probably similar. I mean, there's not too many ways that you could write a program to play a, a, a board game, but mine is just the way I wanted it, and I did it myself, and that makes me happy. And that's that. So here's what I did. I have a game. It can play one game at a time. You can manage both teams, or you can have a computer manage the opponent's team and you manage one team, or you can have it play the entire season. And what it does is it just goes through every game that was played in 1986 and replays it using the starting lineups and the starting pitchers and all the computer manager logic that I have in my program to manage both teams. And it gets through pretty quick, and I think it's kind of a cool way to compare. Not exactly, because these board games have dice, so they don't turn out exactly the same as real baseball. But you can kind of see if it's close. And the stats, the batting and pitching stats are pretty close. The wins and losses sometimes change because, you know, the same things don't happen. A team could get, 20 hits in one game and 2 hits in the next game. But in the real season, they might have got 10 hits in both games and won them both. One of the things I do in my program is I try to make it look like you're playing the board game. So everything that you would see when you play the board game with the dice and the cards for the players and the charts from that shows how to interpret the results, all that I pop up on the screen and you can see it. One thing I did do is I add color to the player cards because I kind of like color, and I kind of copied how Sports Illustrated did it. So instead of a card that's all one color, if there's a hit, it's a green box. If it's an out, it's a red box. A strikeout is a blue box. You'll see. The yellow box is a walk or a wild pitch. But you'll see that when I show you how the game looks. Here's how the computer manager logic. The computer manager can decide to bunt. You can see, what that's based on, that logic. He can decide to steal. He won't steal if his team is behind. He has to make a decision on base running if there's a flyout with a question mark or a single and double with no defined runner advancements, that the runners have to decide whether they're going to advance or not. And he has logic built in that makes decisions for him. And then he can intentionally walk batters. He can play the infield in. He can put pinch hitters in. Although I don't have any pinch hitters for the American League game, I just let it play out with the designated hitter in the 9 starters. In National League games, I will pinch it for the pitchers in situations where the team is behind. And then relief pitchers come in whenever a pitcher reaches his fatigue level, or if a starter lets in 6 more runs, or reliever 3 or more. And the way I decide which reliever comes in is based on how many games each reliever for that team pitched during the real season. And then the 9th inning is based on the saves that the players had in the season. So that's that. So I'll go back to my game and I will show you. If you hit S, you see the standings, and then you can hit A and it'll play all the American League games. There's 1,134 that it plays, and it is now done. Now I can play the National League games. There's 969 because there's less National League teams in 1986, and it's done. So now I can look at the standings, and I'll tell you what happens in this game is, I don't know if it happened just now, but the California Angels almost always win the West. The Mets almost win their division. The Houston Astros win their division a lot. And the Boston Red Sox have a really hard time winning their division. Let's see what happened when I just ran it. See, okay, California won. They almost always win. The Mets almost always win. The Astros didn't win. The Giants beat them out in this run. And there's the Boston Red Sox not winning again. So let me do it again. I'll do the American League and we'll see what happens the second time through. There's their 1,100 games. And that's done. Now National League, 969 games. It's cranking through, making decisions, pinch hitters, stealing, and all that kind of stuff. And now let's look at the standings. All right, now the Mets and the Astros won as they should have. California didn't win. Texas is good that year. Texas sometimes beats out California when I run a season. And once again, Boston did not win. So that's how that works. It can run all the games, and then you can look at team statistics. I will look at the pitching statistics of the Red Sox because Roger Clemens was the MVP and the Cy Young Award winner, and he had a good season here. Just the rest of the team didn't do well enough. See, the numbers in parentheses are the actual results in 1986, and then the rest of the numbers are what just happened when I had the computer play 1,134 games. So you can see that Clemens did even better on his ERA in this simulation with a 1.96. He won 22 games and lost 8 versus 24 and 4. So that's fairly close. And you can see the other ones, how they worked out. Now I'll look at a team's batting. I'll look at the Philadelphia Phillies because Mike Schmidt was the MVP that year. And here you can see how many home runs they hit in the real season and their batting average in the real season. If you just look down, you can see it compares not perfectly, but pretty close. Schmidt had a lot. Schmidt does better in this game than he did in real life. His 37 home runs are almost always exceeded in the Strat-O-Matic game. His batting average is better too, 319 versus 290. But you can look and see the team. Look at the team batting average. In the simulated season with Strat-O-Matic, they batted 252. In the real season, they batted 253. They hit 169 homers in the simulated season, 154 in the actual season. So, and that was Mike Schmidt's extra home runs. So you can look at all the teams pitching or batting, or you can look at the league leaders, which I think is kind of fun. So I'll do that for the National League because I just finished that. Here's the batting average leaders. I'll say 450 at bats to qualify. And I programmed it so that the actual leader of the real season shows up in red. So Tim Raines was the batting leader in 1986, so he shows up in red, and he was the batting leader here easily. There's home runs, Mike Schmidt, top. Mike Schmidt RBIs, top. Tony Gwynn, supposed to get the most hits, but Raines got 2 more than him. Von Hayes got the most doubles. Mitch Webster got the most triples in the real season, but he got edged out a little here. Here's stolen bases. Vince Coleman is up there. Here's runs scored. Here comes slugging. I'm almost sure it'll be Mike Schmidt. Oh, it wasn't. Strawberry beat out Mike Schmidt. Strawberry must have lots of doubles and triples along with his home runs. And then I have this category MVP candidates where I just show the hitters that hit a lot of home runs or had high average or a lot of RBIs, and here's Mike Schmidt on that list. So now I can show you the National League leaders in pitching, and I'll start with ERA with 200 innings, and it was Mike Scott in real life, but he sort of tied Danny Cox here in the simulated season. Mike Scott had innings pitched. He had strikeouts. There's the leader in wins. I don't remember who led the league in wins in 1986, but whoever it was didn't do very good in this simulated rerun. There's Mailer lost a lot of games. Todd Worrell got a lot of saves. A lot of games pitched, efforts, and there's my Cy Young Award winners. And there's Mike Scott, who won the Cy Young that year, and he had a pretty good year, winning 24 games. So that's how you can play a whole season and then look at the results. Here's how you can play one game, and the game I will play is this game right here, Game 6 of the World Series. So I can play it pretty much exactly, except I have two problems. The Red Sox started Dave Henderson and Spike Owen in the actual World Series game, but in this game, those two players are on Seattle because that's where they played most of the year. So I'll have to play another center fielder and another shortstop in the game that I'm going to play right now. So I say I want to play a game. I'm going to manage both teams so that I can kind of do what really happened during the year. I could have had the computer manage against me, but I won't here. So it's Boston at New York. My game is all keyboard driven. I could put mouse in there, but I don't know. You just be clicking on the same thing over and over, so it doesn't really matter once you get into the game. So Clemens started the game in real life, and Bob Ojito started for the Mets. So there they are. Now the batting order was Wade Boggs, Marty Barrett, Bill Buckner, Jim Rice, Dwight Evans, Rich Gedman, the catcher. Then it was Dave Henderson, but I'll put Tony Armas in. Then it was Spike Owen, but I'll put Ray Quinones in. So there's my Red Sox lineup. Now, my Mets lineup can match exactly. Lenny Dykstra led up, played center field. Then Wally Backman second. Keith Hernandez was third. Batting cleanup was Gary Carter, the catcher. Batting fifth was Darryl Strawberry. Batting sixth was Ray Knight, playing third base. Batting seventh was Mookie Wilson. And batting eighth was Rafael Santana. So there's their lineup. And I'll say yes to that. So here's the game starts. There's the cards for the players. The pitcher's Ojeda, and the batter is Wade Boggs to start the game. This is Ojeda facing a left-hander. So as the inning goes by, you'll see Ojeda's card change as the batter goes from left to right. And this is Wade Boggs against a left-handed hit pitcher. So to bat, you just push the space bar. Actually, let me show you. See that down there, the yellow box is press B, D, H. If I hit X for help, it shows me all the options. So those are all the things you can do. Instead of having a picture of those things and you click on the little box, I just have you push the button on the keyboard. Not very fancy. So I'll start off by hitting away. So when I hit away, it rolls the dice, the white dice to see if it's a batter or pitcher card, and then the red dice to see where it is in the column. And then I always roll the 20-sided dice, even though it is only used in certain situations like splits or fielding checks and things like that. So the first batter rolled a 3, which goes onto Wade Boggs' card. The 6 is a split between singles and lineouts. A 16 would fall into the lineout. 9 to 20 is a lineout, so Boggs is out. Here comes Marty Barrett. As you can see, Marty Barrett's a righty, so Ojeda's card is different. That's his pitching against righties, which he's not as good as because he's lefty. Lefty is better for him. But he does strike out Marty Barrett. The 5 is on Ojeda's card, you can see. And then the 6, you go down to 6 on the dice. And I highlight it with a yellow box so you can see where the dice would point you if you're playing the game yourself. So Bill Buckner comes up and we go off of Ojeda's card again, a 6. And a 9 is down there as a ground out. So Ojeda gets the Red Sox out 1, 2, 3. Here's Lenny Dykstra. Lenny strikes out on Clemens' card. There's Roger Clemens' card against a lefty. There's another lefty, so the card stays the same. A 3 goes on Backman's card, and a 2 is just a pop out. Another lefty is Keith Hernandez, and that's a 1. So it's on Hernandez' card with a 9 is a grounder to first base, A. So 1, 2, 3 for both teams. Here comes cleanup hitter Jim Rice. He's out on Ojeda's card. Here's righty hitter Evans. He strikes out on his own card on the 1 column. And Rich Gedman, pop over to Ojeda's card against a lefty. Ojeda's pretty damn good, and he gets him to fly out. So not much action so far. There's a strikeout of Gary Carter. The Mets cleanup hitter. Here we go. We got a base runner. So Darryl Strawberry's card is pretty strong. Look at all that green and walks. So he's pretty good against right-handed pitchers. So he gets a walk because he rolled a 1 and then a 5. So there's Darryl Strawberry at first, and you can see I show their running numbers. So A is his stealing number. A is good. B, C, D, E is the worst. And there his 1 through 17 are his chances if he's going to go for an extra base. And that gets adjusted based on the throwing. If it's an outfield, if it's a hit and there's 2 outs, he gets to add 2 for that. And then if he's going first to third and the hit's to right, then he gets to add for that too. So that's how Strat-O-Matic plays. I don't change anything there, but if the option comes up, I'll pop up a screen to show how he's adjusted in that situation. So there is Ray Knight. He strikes out. Now let's have Strawberry try to steal. Might as well show you 2 outs, Mookie Wilson up. So to steal, you remember that you just hit S for steal. So I hit S. It rolls the 20-sided dice. It shows you an A runner against a -3 throwing catcher. There's his odds of being safe or out. So 1 to 12, he is safe, and he rolls a 2. So Strawberry steals second. And since it's a one, the error check has to happen for Gedman. And there was no error on the 8 because it was a 2 on Strat-O-Matic. If someone steals and it's a 1, 2, or 3, then they have to check that if the catcher threw a wild throw, and then it rolled another dice and it rolled an 8, which wasn't an error for Rich Gedman. So it was just a steal with no throwing error. Here we go, Mookie Wilson. He strikes out. So all that stealing was for naught. Here we go, top of the third. Tony Armas pops out. Ray Quinones comes up and pops out also. So not much hitting, no hits yet. There's Clemens' hitting card. Pitchers have they don't have their own hitting cards in Strat-O-Matic, at least not in this version of Strat-O-Matic. They just have a rating of 1 to 8, and depending on their rating, they get a different card. So he's a 1. He didn't bat much in the American League, designated hitter, so he doesn't have any chance of getting a hit at all. As you can see, it's all red and blue. The only way he can get a hit is if the pitcher gives him one. And the pitcher did. Look at that. We rolled a 5, so it goes on Ojida's card, and then the 10 is down is a home run, but it is a ballpark impacted hit. But also, weak hitters can't hit home runs. So if they get a home run on a pitcher's card, it gets changed to a single, runner's advance 2 bases. So we don't even need to check the ballpark thing. It just gets changed to a single because Clemens is not a normal power hitter. He's a weak. You have either an N or a W, and he's a W. All right, runner on first. Clemens is over there. 2 outs. Wade Boggs pops out on Ojida's card. So here we go to the bottom of the third. So not too much going on. Here's Rafael Santana, number 8 hitter. He flies out. Too bad he didn't get on. I could have bunted with Bob Ojeda. Look at Bob Ojeda. He's also a 1 hitter. You can see that he doesn't have any hits on his card. So Clemens throws a 2 and a 4, and that's a strikeout on Ojeda's card. So there's 2 outs. Okay, here's an error check. On the pitcher's card, Clemens rolled a 6 and an 11. So you look down there where the yellow box is, and that's a ground out to the pitcher with an X, which means you have to check a fielding. And Roger Clemens is a 2 fielder. I show that in the blue line. So instead of taking a big table out and trying to find pitcher 2 defensive rating, I just show you what that is, and what that is in this box. So it could be a single or a ground out or an error check. Since it's a 6 on the 20-sided dice, it's an error check. So we'll go to the error check, which is another table, and I pick out Roger Clemens' error rating 23. So I picked out that and display that in my game. So there's the 2 through 12 that you would roll for pitcher error rating 23, and it rolled a 7. So that's an error. It could have been an error or ground out. So Clemens makes an error. Dykstra goes to first. Dykstra is a double A runner, which is possibly the fastest runner in 1986. I think there's triple A too, but I don't think there's anybody in this year that's a triple A. So I'm going to have Dykstra steal right off the bat. So Dykstra fails at a stealing attempt. You can see there his safe attempts of a double A against a -3 catcher is 1 through 14, but he rolled a 19, so he's going to be thrown out by Rich Gedman. So that's the end of that inning. Here we go, Marty Barrett. He grounds out. Here we go, Bill Buckner. He lines out. Here we go, Jim Rice. He lines out. So far through 3.5 innings, there has only been one hit. It was a pitcher hit. Here's Wally Backman leading off. Two good pitchers here. Strikeout. Here's another strikeout by Clemens on his card, right there in the middle of his card. And the last is a line out to the third baseman. So Carter goes down. Still no hits for the Mets, only one for the Red Sox. Here's Dwight Evans. Evans not too good against the... He should be better than that against the lefty, I would think. He's only got a couple green boxes. Although there are hits. If there's a split between outs and hits, then I show it in the color that most likely will be had. So you can see column 3, a 6, as it could be a double or a flyout, but since it's only a double, if you roll a 1, then I showed it as red. So there is a ground out to third with an error check. There's Ray Knight. He's the third baseman for the Mets. He's a defensive rating 3. A 9 on the card shows that it should be an error check. And there we go. He's a 21 error rating on Ray Knight at third base. And I rolled a 6. And for that third base position, error rating 21. A 6 is an error, a one-base error. So Dwight Evans reaches on an error. Both teams have an error. Here comes Rich Gedman. He flies out. Here comes Tony Armas. It's another error check and a grounder to the shortstop Rafael Santana, who's a defensive rating 2, and he's an error rating 23, and it's a 7. So it turns out to be a ground out. A is a double play. B is a forced second, and C is a runner's advance one base. So this is going to be a double play in Strat-O-Matic, and it is in my game also. Bottom of the 5th. Strawberry, he's got a strong card. Hopefully he rolls a 1. He did roll a 1, and a 6 is a walk. So if you roll a 1 with Strawberry, you're pretty much going to get on base unless you roll an 11. Everything else is a hit or the split on 8. Okay, there. So Strawberry's on first. Here comes Ray Knight. He flies out. No chance to advance on that. Here's Mookie Wilson. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about this. Mookie Wilson rolled a 2 and a 9. So you look at his card, and that's a double to center. It doesn't say if it's advanced 2 bases or 3 bases, so you have a choice. So Strawberry can stop at third or try to score. You can see there's 1 out, so he doesn't get any added numbers for being running on the hit. The outfielder is the center fielder. He's got a -2 throwing arm, so Strawberry's 1 through 17 gets reduced to 1 through 15. That's still a pretty good chance. I am going to send Strawberry, so when I hit yes, the blue dice will roll again, and if it's 1 through 15, we'll have a run. And it is. It's a 4. Strawberry scores on Mookie Wilson's double, so they're up 1-0. There's a ground out to the second baseman. A C means a runner's advance. So there's Wilson's at third base. Too bad the pitcher's up. He's pitching pretty darn good, so he's going to just hit. And he's out. Top of the 6th, Ray Quinones comes up. He doubles. All right. Here's Roger Clemens. Clemens pitching okay, but he'll bunt. He's a C bunter, so we just hit, if we hit our help screen, a bunt is a B. That's pretty easy to remember. So I hit B. We roll an 8, a C bunter like Clemens. The blue line tells you, on bunting or stealing or advanced fielding checks, who the player in question is, what is rating in question. So it just tells you Roger Clemens is a C bunter, which you can see on his card. He rolls an 8, so it's a sacrifice. So that's good for them. Quinones goes over to third with 1 out. Here comes Wade Boggs. Oh, Wade Boggs. Okay, Wade. There's a defensive check again. Went to second base. He's a defensive rating 3, and the 20-sided dice is a 4, so that's a single. So Bogsley knocks in Quinones, ties the game up. 1-1. Marty Barrett up. There's another air check. It's a grounder to the pitcher. He's a defensive rating 2. All right, a 6 that's going to be a double play. Ground ball A. So it went pitcher to shortstop to first base and held him with 1 run. Here's 1-1 game, bottom of the 6th. Lenny Dykstra. Now we got to start remembering what happened in the real game. There was some pitch hitting, especially for the shortstop on the Mets, Keith Hernandez. There's only one pinch hitter for the Red Sox, Mike Greenwell. All right, Buckner against Ojeda. Ojeda pitched 6 innings in the game. Okay, he's pitched 6 innings, so let's relieve him. So I hit X. Reliever is R. That's easy. Hit R. The first reliever in the game was Roger McDowell, their closer in 1986. So he comes in. He actually pitched 1 2/3 innings in that year. So he's going to pitch to Buckner. He lets Buckner get a single. Going to pitch to Rice. There's a check on the grounder to the pitcher. It's a C. That's going to be base runner advances. Dwight Evans. Okay, there's a single. It went on McDowell's card. You can see that was a 5 column and a 10. So it's a single to left field. Buckner's a 1 through 10. The left fielder's not very good at throwing. He's a +3, so you add 3 to Buckner. So he's a 1 through 13 to be safe with 1 out. Who's coming up next? Gedman. I'm going to hold him at third because Buckner's not very fast, and let's see if Gedman can knock him in. Okay, that turned out okay. That's a grounder to the pitcher. You do the advanced fielding chart. A 3 on the defensive rating 2 for a pitcher is a ground ball C, which is runner's advance. So Buckner does score. Red Sox up 2-1. McDowell. Okay, here's Tony Armas. Here's another thing that we can talk about. He rolled a 2. So it's on the batter's card, and a 10 is a fly ball to the center fielder, but it has that little horseshoe, and what that means is a clutch hitter. So if there's a running and scoring position and 2 outs, Tony Armas is a clutch hitter in this game, so his out gets turned into a single. So that's good because that scored Evans from first. Here's Quinones. He'll bat. He flies out. Here comes the 7th inning. Now it's 3-1. Sort of close to what it was in real life. Card is hit by the pitch. Strawberry comes up and strikes out. Ray Knight grounds out into a double play. So that was a quick inning for old Roger Clemens. Clemens pitched 7 innings, so he's pitched what he pitched in the game. Greenwell come pinch hit for him. So let's do that right now. Pinch hitter is a P. So Greenwell was a pinch hitter for him. This is exactly when he pinch hit in the 8th inning for Clemens. So he comes up, he triples. I don't know what he did in the real game, but that's pretty darn good for Mike Greenwell pinch hitting. It was on Roger McDowell's card. Maybe Roger McDowell, who pitched 1 2/3 innings, should come out. Let's see, he's a righty. It's a left-handed pitcher. So I'll bring in a reliever. The next reliever in the game was Jesse Orozco, and he's a lefty. So maybe that's when this happened with Boggs coming up. So now I have lefty and lefty, but that didn't help because on Wade Boggs' card, he gets a single and scores Greenwell. Marty Barrett comes up against Orozco. Orozco strikes him out. It's 4-1. Buckner comes up again. He pops out. Here's Jim Rice against Orozco. He grounds out. So they got another run. My game, of course, told me that I pinch hit for the pitcher, so I got to have another pitcher come in. And they pitched. Schiraldi was the second pitcher in the real game, so I'll use him here. All right, Mookie Wilson comes up. Mookie grounds out. Here's what we did a little bit late in this. In the 5th inning, they pinch hit for Santana with Danny Heap. So I'll do that now in the 7th inning or whatever inning we're in. So here's Danny Heap coming up to bat for pinch hitter. He's the pinch hitter. He comes up. There's his card. He lines out. Jesse Orozco is going to get pinch hit for, of course. They're down 4-1. And Kevin Mitchell was a pinch hitter in that actual game, so he'll pinch hit here. Grounds out. All right. So the next pitcher for the Mets was Aguilera. So that's who we'll put in now. Also, if we look at the defense, we will see Danny Heap, who pinch hit for Santana, is showing up as the shortstop, which is not right. 4-48 is the worst rating for a shortstop. So that's what my program does. When you put somebody in a position he doesn't play, it just gives him the worst rating. I don't know Strat-O-Matic rule is on that, but that's how I worked it. So we're not going to have Danny He play shortstop, so we will take him out. And we will replace him with Kevin Elster, who played in this actual game. So now we look at the defense, and there's Kevin Elster. So that's easy to do. Dwight Evans comes up. Evans gets walked by Aguilera. Red Sox are cruising along here. Gedman strikes out. Tony Armas strikes out. Ray Quinones strikes out. All right, well, that was a walk and 3 strikeouts. All right, bottom of the ninth. The actual game was Mets 5, Red Sox 4. So they got a little work to do here against Kevin Schiraldi. It's going to be Lenny Dykstra. Dykstra strikes out. I don't know. I'm not getting a good feeling about this comeback. There's a fielding check on third baseman Boggs, who's a 2. A 1 is the best defensive rating, and a 4 is the worst. The lower the number, the better. So that's a ground out. So here we are with 2 outs. Keith Hernandez is the last chance against Schiraldi, and Schiraldi strikes him out. So that'll be the ball game. Boston won the game instead of losing it. They would have won the World Series if this happened in 1986. Here are the stats. These are the players except for Armas and Quinones who played. Greenwell pinch hit, and those are 2 of the pitchers that pitched. So there you go with that. We had 8 hits and 4 runs. 1 double by Quinones. No homers, no triples. Boggs knocked a couple of runs in, so that's how they scored their 4 runs with little hits. And the Mets only had 1 run. It was scored by Strawberry, I think, on a Mookie Wilson double. There's their pitchers. There's their Rafael Santana started, but pinch hit Danny Heap. Elston entered the game, and he's in there with 0 at-bats. Here are the pitchers, Clemens and Schiraldi. Here are the Mets pitchers. McDowell led up the winning runs when he was relieved. So that's how that worked out. Hope you enjoyed this video a little bit. Now you know how the game works. And what I do is I will put the program out on Dropbox, which is an internet sharing service. And you can get an ID for free if you just use it a little bit. And if you have a Windows PC and you'd like to try this game yourself, you can download the files, which are a bunch of pictures mostly, and some data files in one executable file. And you just run the executable, and this will pop up, what you see right now, and you have all the options that you saw me do. So if you're interested, it'll be out there. I'll put a link in the comments of this video. And I will close for now and wish you a good day.